All right, so this is a more advanced course, I guess you could say, in sealing the bottom of doors. In this particular case, it needs new bottom seals, but the threshold itself has also started to give way. So we're going to have a look at that. All right, typical of doors. I'm going to work on the seals, but first thing I find is up here where this pin, see this pin goes up into that hole, and that's what locks this part of the French doors into place. This pin is now broken. You can see right here where it lifts up. So this mechanism is broken off. So I'll have to fix that at some point. I might be able to just put some epoxy in there because that's not really structural. It just pulls the pin down. So maybe I'll do that, put a little epoxy in there, see if that'll hold it in place for now. Now back to the threshold. So I'm gonna get down here and you can see what I'm talking about. This is the part here that the bottom seal goes up against. And so this needs to be good and solid, which this is, all the way over to here. And now it's completely loose. So what we have to do is take this strip off of here and see what's going on under there, which I suspect is there's a bunch of wood missing. All right, so I went ahead and used my impact drill, this guy, to loosen these up. And these aren't hooked to anything. These down here actually had some, they were hooked to something in there. So let's take it out and see what the big reveal is, how bad the news is. You can see the whole threshold wants to pick up out of there. There we go. And the news is, yep, there's a big old hole down there. This wood, can you see it's all rotted there? So that whole section of wood is gone. So at this point, we have to do something to repair that hole that's down there. You can't see it, but I'll bring a flashlight and see if I can look down there and see what's going on. All right, so here's the threshold down on the bench, and I'll show you what that looks like. The dry rot has wiped out half of this connection here. What happens is these are inserted screws, basically, or nuts, I should say. I think they call them wood nuts or something like that, that these go into there. But because this has all dry rotted, these are stuck on here. So first thing I want to do is get these off and see if I can restore that. Luckily, this is a piece of oak, I believe. This piece is in reasonably decent shape. It's not completely, it's got a little bit of weathering on it, but for the most part, it's all right. So there's a hope to rebuild this. Let me show you underneath here. So there's the dry rot. You can see what that looks like. And it wiped out this all the way over to here. So this is reasonably solid, but over here, this is wiped out too. So, all right, so that's what it looks like down there. I've all cleaned it up. I dug out the old dry rot and cut out some of this old flooring here that had dry rotted as well. Back to good stuff. And cleaned out down there too, same thing. Got it vacuumed. And established that we've got good structure. So these joists are actually in good shape. And this joist here, the whatever you call that thing, that's in good shape except for losing a little bit of structure at the top. But what I want to do is replace this piece of flooring with this composite decking material, very weather resistant. So I'm going to cut a piece of that. I think it's just about the same thickness as this original flooring, to go ahead and patch in here. Then the threshold will go over the top of all that. I also decided to fill in where a lot of the dry rot was when there's still structure, but I use this stuff. I had some old stuff left over. It's not structural, but at least it's weatherproof. So that'll be good for keeping the moisture out of there. And then when I'm done here, I'll make sure I caulk everything very heavily. So all the way along there will be caulked. And I'm gonna smear some caulking on top of this flooring as well, just in case. Here's the first piece to go in, and you can see I've really loaded the caulking on there. And then I'll first caulk all that later. All right, so we've got kind of got a thicker one, well, wider one this way, and a more narrow one. So this one goes over here, slides right in there with all the caulking on it. And this one goes in here. It's caulking on it. And I will say, not the prettiest patch job I've ever done, but it's good and solid once I get it all screwed down and fill up those cracks with some caulking. All right, so there they are back in place, good and solid. Got a good solid base to put that threshold on now, so we can get a good seal under the door, and we can keep the weather from coming through there like it has in the past. Well, so here's the new threshold. You can see it, and it comes longer than you need, so you got to cut it off. And a good suggestion by one of the other folks who had posted a great video on installing these was to cut them so that these holes are kind of even. So I'd say that hole and that hole, I want them spaced the same distance from the side of the door. So I'll make 2 cuts, cut off either end. I'll need to use my metal blade to cut the metal part and the wood blade to cut the wood part. I don't think I have a blade that cuts both, but I'll get that marked and cut. And then I'm going to go get some flashing tape to go over the surface here, and just caulk the daylights out of that area so that no water can get in through there. I think that'll help to keep this whole thing a lot drier. And just a light coat of this varathane or urethane type of material on the oak pieces, because partly this is what disintegrates over time in the weather, so give it a fighting chance with a little bit of a coating on there. So I'll probably do 2 coats. Before we put the threshold down, we want to put this flashing tape. This one's called Protecto wrap. I'm going to put down a sheet as close as I can get to here so that it really protects all the way back here. I'm going to caulk as well on top of this, but I want this to be there to keep that floor from seeing any moisture. So I'll keep putting this down and then wrapping it around the edge here, so any water that it hits will come out that way. All right, so that's 3 layers of this. The top layer goes around the corner. All the other layers are covering nicely over here. You can see covering all the way back to where the floor is good and solid still. So that'll be the first step, and now we're going to do some caulking. Do caulking out here in this one. I don't want to do that one just yet till I get the threshold cut and sized appropriately. All right, have them marked to come to the edge of the brick molding there. You can see there and there. And then I will do some filling where the brick molding doesn't come all the way down somehow. I'll get that fixed. But for right now, see, that's exactly how this one is done. You can see that it comes out at the edge of the brick molding, and then you put the caulking there. So we use the metal cutting cut-off wheel to cut through that aluminum. So using this cutoff piece, I can show you. what I need to do is I need to cut this off enough so this will slide under here. So I'm going to use my reciprocating saw, this guy here, to do that. All right, there it is, just sort of trying to make sure it fits. And that looks good. And it looks like it needs to just line up directly with the brick molding on the outside. You can see down there the same thing. And it looks like the door closes correctly. And everything lines up the way it should. So I think that's probably where we're going to put it, right there. And before I do that, though, I got to get that front piece back on there. Slight correction is what I want to do is push this right up against there, because the door wants to go up against this and seal not only here, but I'll have the door sweep. I'll put a new one on, and that'll sweep across the top, and this will seal the door. So I want that part right there. This one I'm going to have to guess, because whatever they did down here, they cut that chunk away or it rotted away. So I'll just get that lined up. And then, so it sticks out just ever so slightly over there and there, kind of a slight overhang. Okay, we're ready to start. All right, so here we go. Start to glue everything down. So get that out of the way. And we got to vacuum again. And we'll start to glue that down, and then we'll put this down and get all our caulking under here. So we'll put our caulking in there and in here, and then we'll start to put the threshold on. All right, there's a whole tube of caulk on there, and that will glue this edge here down, and this is going to be sticking over a little. So I think we've got everything ready to go into place here. So I'll shove it in over here first. Here we go. Yep, fits beautifully. Now I can adjust this height on here up slightly if need be. That's what those screws are all about, but we'll see how this, I'm going to put the new sweeps on, the bottom seals, and we'll see how that fits. I did another video on this before where you just pull these down from the bottom. The old one, which is a mess. You can see it's pretty bad, pretty beat up. And a new one goes in. You slide the new one underneath, get it sort of lined up, and start to put it in there. It should click right into place. Everything's out of the way. And there we go. So there's the new one. You can just kind of see it sticking out there a little bit. And do the other one. One thing to remember on French doors is you got to cut out a little spot down here so this pin will go down and lock the door. So I'll cut that out and put it back in. Well, it turns out I need to raise this up so that I get a good seal on the bottom. And I thought I'd start by putting some of this, flashing tape down and seal, because there's a metal, you can see it, there's a metal edge right there that comes out onto this bare wood. And I thought what I'd do is just go ahead and stick a couple of layers of this flashing tape down there to protect this wood, just in case any water gets over here, and that's what rotted out before. So it'll help to raise it up and seal it. Well, my apologies, I forgot to turn the camera on when I was doing the foam stuff, and you can see it poking out there. And did it over here and already cut away some of it. Did it all the way under here. You can see that. That helps to seal that up. And there'll be this, I've got another one of these things to go out front. But now that it's got all those big cracks filled in, I can use caulk to do the last of it to really get a good seal. If you've never used this stuff, it's very cool. You spray it in, and this particular one that fills bigger cracks up to 1 inch, it expands pretty slowly, but it does expand. You put it in and it's kind of a liquid, very sticky. But when it finally firms up, it's actually pretty hard. I'm squeezing pretty hard on that. And if I break this was a little leftover piece. If I break it, you can see the inside is, where is it? There we go. So kind of very, very tight foam. There's air in there, but it's a very tight foam. And it does a great job. And my point of putting it under here was that in here, there's a kind of a gap that normally gets filled up by various installation things. But in this case, I feel like at least this threshold is too close to the surface of this to leave this sticking out, because water can get under here. So what I wanted to do was to fill this as much as I could, and there was no way to do that with like wood or something, and caulk was just, there was a ton of area. So this is perfect for filling up that kind of a thing. And yeah, it does look messy there, but I'll go ahead and cut that away with a utility knife, and then put a bead of caulk in there, and my piece of molding, I guess I'll call it, out front. And then I'll go ahead and caulk this area on either side so that the water should flow off of this onto this and then out onto the surface of the deck, where it'll just go down the cracks like all the rest of the deck. And the idea is to keep it from going back underneath, which is what it was doing before, and why it rotted all this out and rotted all that out, or caused dry rot, should I say. And a little short interlude here. I've decided to go with this as the kind of edge I want to put next to that threshold, but that's not long enough, obviously, and I need a longer piece, and I have this long piece of decking board that I can use, but I only want it that wide, and I need to cut it off of this, which I could cut shorter, but it's nice to have a little bit longer board around just for things. So I need to cut this strip off of there. But I wanted to show you how wonderful it is to reconfigure my shop. Here's my table saw, and we're pointing outside, so I've got plenty of room. And there it is inside, going across these two tool chests, which I made everything the same height so I could do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is have a very long board in here, cut it, and then I can put the shop back together very quickly. All right, I think we're all set up now. Bring this board back over here. There we go. Okay, so now I need to cut this one off to length, and I thought, well, I'll just rotate the table saw around, so it was pointing outside, now it's sideways, and I fit that board just fine, and I'll cut that in two. Other nice thing about this is with both doors open like that, I can just use my little battery-operated leaf blower and blow all the sawdust outside and clean off the top of the table saw, and yeah, nicely cleaned up and ready to push all back together. Okay, there's our board. Table saw is all cleaned up, rolled back into its little corner, and we've got a nice clean bench to work on and get back to the threshold. Before that, I'll do some shameless self-promoting here. I'm going to be posting a video, or already have, about redoing my shop. All of the equipment on wheels and the floor. I don't know if you can see the floor down there, but yeah, it was a long process, but well worth it. You just saw me utilizing my new mobile shop to be able to configure it, so I can cut long, short, medium. I've got all kinds of things. It's a little messy right now. I'm in the middle of 3 or 4 different projects, so things come out and then they go back. But there we go. Shameless self-promoting. I'll put a link up top here, and you guys can have fun looking at that. All right, so here's our new board just laying here, ready to be put in, and we need to trim some of that excess foam away, and then we will use this silicone caulk behind it. This is the really tough stuff, so that's what I want back there. It'll weather the storm a lot better than other things. So let's get started. So first thing is to trim this stuff away. It's not very difficult. Yep. And then what I want to do is have this. There we go. So what I'd set this up as is that this would line up there. And I want this to be pretty much like that, and then I can hook this, silicone this back there down to the bottom here, and then I'll put a bead across here and across here. And again, that keeps the water running this way over the surface. So I've got a couple of other places to make sure that the foam isn't in the way, I think. Actually, no, it looks pretty good. I'll show you. That looks pretty good now, so I think I can leave the rest of that, and now start just caulking this and get that buttoned down. And then after I put the caulking on, I'll use my brad nailer to hook this down, and then after that's done, I can do the final outside caulking. And I think I'm just going to fill these holes up with caulk as well, down in here. You can see over there. Down these holes, just fill that up with caulk as well. Well, there it is. Sorry I didn't show you, but I already did the brad nailing on it, and it's in place. But that was that silicone is pretty thick stuff, and trying to get it all jammed in there was a little more challenging than I gave it credit for. So probably should have been a little less aggressive with the silicone, but nicely sealed up now. So I've got that all inside there, and I'm going to wait for that to dry before I put a bead on the tops. And then over in the corners, I'll probably use white there and around there. Same over there. I think it'll just look a little better up against the white molding like that. I had to add a little more foam over in this corner. I did a tricky thing here where I put a string onto a bit of the flashing tape, whatever that is, that stuff there, and hung it down there and just squirted the foam on it, and it worked great. So it's good and solid now. Yep. So that foam is pretty amazing stuff. I'll trim that down slightly. And that part should be done. And here's the next day on this. Caulking is nice. We had just a little sprinkle of rain last night, but it's going to be rainy over the next couple of days, so I got this done in time. Last thing to do is to add the adjustment bolts in here, but they were missing out of the package, so I'm waiting for the manufacturer to send me some new ones, and then we'll finish this job up. All right, well, here's before and after. So you can see this bit had all rotted out. I'll turn it over here so you can see. And it all rotted out. We got it all out and replaced with a new one, all sealed up and done much better than before. These old nasty parts are all replaced. So I think we'll call it quits on that and say thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye! All right, I was going to show you how these work. These are the adjusting screws for the threshold so that it can be raised up and down to meet the bottom of the door. And so the way this works is, let me get this up first. Good. So the way these work is these screws go in here like that, and then these washers go on there like that, and just kind of push down onto it. There we go, like that. So that's how those all get inserted in there. So this one is the hole for the door, the left-hand side of the door bolt, I guess you could call it. So I'm going to go ahead and put all these in. Shouldn't take long. And they say to put these in with that little bevel facing up, or down, I should say. So I'll go ahead and finish that up off camera. But the other thing is to put these in. I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at there. I'll zoom in, these guys here. And the way they work is that they have threads on them. Threads on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. There we go, there's the threads. And they have these little sharp things that will poke down into the wood. And it keeps it from rotating this way. So the way that works is, let's go over to this one here. Where are you? This one here. Oh, I'm over there. That's one. There we go. So let's put this one in. Actually, not that one. That one I have to do something to real quick. All right, I had to get there was some silicone glue in the way. I got that out of there by just using a screwdriver and going down and boring it out, basically. So what we do is put this in there like that. It doesn't really matter the orientation. And then use a hammer that will go in between here. I'm using a ball peen. And that's all there is to it, like that. So you put those in, and then these screws, once they're in the other piece of wood, will thread into these and go down. And because there's the this metal washer on here, we'll make it so this will go up and down as you screw and unscrew this. So let's go ahead and we'll finish these up, and then we'll put all the screws in and we'll show you that. All right, so I've put the screws in there with the little washers and turned it over carefully because the washers want to fall off of there. But now what you do is just sort of tighten this down. In this case it's a Phillips head, so hopefully these all line up nicely. Yep, it's going down. So, oops. So I'm going down with it. You can see that. And I'll keep doing that across here with each of these. Once I get it started, then I can adjust the door. See how it's going down there? But I don't want to do these all the way down yet. I want to get them all started. Can I go down evenly? Bring you back after I get them all kind of evened up. So hopefully you can see this. As I back it up, it actually raises the threshold a little bit. And then it goes down, and then come back up. And so this part of the door here is a little lower than the other part, or the door is a little higher. I'm not sure which, but so this part I wanted to raise up just a smidge, and this part over here I wanted to leave it down a little bit. So we'll see how that works. So as I open this door, I'm going to be quiet so you can hear it. See how you hear that hiss and it's sliding across there? That's what I want to hear, because that means the seal, this part down here, this part down here is actually making good contact with that. So I'm hoping that this side over here will be high enough to hear that as well. Scooch back here. See how this one does now. Yeah, that sounded good. Hear it? Yeah, good. I think we've got it. Yeah. So there we go. So again, thanks for watching, and good luck on your threshold projects right there. And give me your comments. You probably have some different ways of doing this and some different ideas, and I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.